Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel blog. I'm so excited that you guys are here, and hey to all my new folks, what's up? So I kind of realized that I never quite mentioned or explained my testimony to you guys. I think I blogged about it here and there, like some of the issues that I went through way back when. So if you're going through all my blogs, you have some ways to go. So I figured, hey, let me do a video, and hopefully it's not too long, and you guys can learn about me a little bit more about why it is that I love God and love Christ the way that I do. Let's just jump right on into it. I wrote it down because I want to try to keep this in some type of order, and so it's not like super long. So check this out. I've grew up in a Christian household. I've been in church all my life with my parents. It's your average, okay, you go to church on Sundays and then that's about it. It wasn't like, God was necessarily talked about in the home, and we didn't like necessarily pray together and things like that. It was just, you go to church on Sundays. That's what you do. So I grew up like that. I can distinctly remember, I guess you can call it my first encounter with God. My first personal encounter with God. It had to be about maybe 13 or 14. And I remember it was a summer day, and I was sitting at my windowsill in my bedroom, and I was just looking outside. It was a warm summer day, and I can remember just looking out the window, looking at the trees. I have this huge tree in my backyard, and just looking at it and just seeing the wind blow, and hearing the sounds of summer, the little rattlesnakes and birds chirping. And it was like this I don't even know what to call it, this spirit or this energy that was just bigger than me, that I felt, and at that moment I just knew it was God. Like, I didn't really need an explanation. I didn't need a, oh my God, I just knew it was God. And I still, even thinking about it, like, that feeling comes back. So that was like my first encounter with him, and I'd say nothing else really came of that, but it was just really cool to have that first encounter with him, that he's real. Forward to college. So I go away to college. I live on campus, and the moment I get there, don't judge me, y'all, okay? This is a judge-free zone. The moment I get there, I get a boyfriend. Like, September, okay? I moved in, I want to say September 3rd or 4th. No, August, because I was a freshman, so they give you like that week in advance. So August I moved in. By September 27th, I remember, because we did the whole celebrate your anniversary every month thing. So September 27th is when we officially, like, this is my boyfriend. Don't judge me. I know it's crazy, but hey, that same September, I don't have many regrets in my life, but this is one of them. That September, I gave away, I didn't lose, I gave away my virginity. I didn't necessarily, and I wrote a blog about it. I'll try to link it somewhere. It's called What's the Big Deal? And basically that was my question, was what's the big deal? Like, music is all about it. Movies are all about it. Everybody's talking about it. What's the big deal? I mean, it's just sex. That's what I thought. I didn't have an idea of what that really meant to have sex, to lose your virginity. The value of it. It wasn't in my mind at all. I didn't think anything big of it. And so lost my virginity. I did stay with that boyfriend for the duration of my college years, all 4 years. And then once I graduated, he moved away and we departed from one another. All throughout college, though, I did the college thing, okay? College was lit, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you. I did a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have done, but thank God I made it. But it was like all throughout all of that, like all the drinking and, partying up and all that other stuff, it was like I always came back. It was like a basis. Like I could never allow myself to fully like go into the deep end and act a fool or, do anything too crazy, because it was like something was holding me back. I couldn't explain it at the time, but obviously now I know. But at the time, it was just, okay, like, I just want to have fun. But then it was like, no. I'm sorry, guys. I'm recording during a snowstorm. And so my neighbor has, the thing going, which I'm so thankful for him because he did my driveway. So, woohoo. But getting back into the testimony, so college, I did some crazy stuff, but I had something that kept holding me back. And I now realize that it was God. And I thank him for covering me during those 4 years, during that season. Now I'll get into the real testimony, as I like to call it, because from 2010 when I graduated, like it was like literally the shift just started. I remember I graduated in May 2010, and in August of 2010, I think my parents were away on vacation, and it was just me. I was just home alone, and I heard about a revival at my aunt's church, and I'll be honest with you. Listen, I was not big into going to revivals. Like I said, growing up, it was literally go to church on Sundays and that was it. Don't bug me. And so I don't, to be honest with you, remember, one, how I heard about the revival, two, what made me decide to go, because like I said, I didn't, that wasn't my thing. But I ended up going, and I believe I went on the second day of the revival, and I went every night from then. Like, it was just like a calling. It was a tug. It was like a breath of fresh air. It was as if I wasn't breathing, but then when I went to the revival, it was like I took my first breath, but I didn't realize I wasn't breathing. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. I hope it does. But I went to the revival, and that Thursday, I believe it was August 26th, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Best decision of my life. I cannot express what that felt like. It felt like life. It felt like breathing. It felt like I became alive that day. Fast forward from August, I decided to make my aunt's church my church home. So I left where my mother was, and I'm so thankful that she didn't fight me on it. She didn't feel some type of way that I was pulling away, but she rather encouraged me and she supported me, and I'm so thankful for that. And so I went over to my aunt's church, which I am still there now, and I love my crew. And I started attending that church and going to Bible study for a little bit, going to prayer services on Wednesdays, and then, so that's August, September, October, November, December, January, February. So we're in 2011 now, and I meet this guy, and he's in church, and he's in a church, and I thought to myself, okay, he's a church dude. Like, he knows the word, he knows the Lord, so ain't no crazy business finna happen. And so I approached him. And we all know the word says that he that findeth a wife. I didn't know that at the time. I wasn't reading my word like that at the time. And so I meet him and I approach him, and, he does tell me that, he's not interested in a relationship really right now. And I tell him at the time that I wasn't either. I really was. And so I was like, okay, we could just be cool. We could just be friends. I just, I really like you or whatever, but, you do you. Well, I think that was a trap from the enemy. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't guarded enough at the time. And so from 2011 up until 2014, towards the end of 2014, I was with that same guy. And it just went from an okay situation to downright like dying, like death situation. Not that he was abusive or anything like that. I don't want to bash him because I'm praying and I hope that the Lord has changed his heart. But it was just a really bad situation. And I think what made it bad for me was that God was calling me to something greater. He was calling me to himself. He was calling me to do something else. And in my carnal mind, thinking, that I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior and that's it, I wanted to do my own thing. And I still wanted to live my own way. So that battle was going on with me. And this guy didn't help the situation at all, because he was feeding my flesh, and the spirit. Like, it was literally, I can remember nights of I'm physically unable to sleep because I feel like I'm warring on the inside. I feel like, like I can literally, I hope that somebody can understand what I'm trying to say. Like, I can literally feel a tug between following God and following my flesh. And it was just, nights after night that I couldn't sleep. I would cry. I would be so frustrated. And at the time, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. I didn't have anyone to help me. I would talk to my best friend, but at the time, she wasn't really in church like that. So we would try our best to pray together, but, you're praying for one thing, but you're still living in the flesh. That's kind of contradicting what you're trying to do. And so that wasn't working. And I even, during those 4 years, I tried to get baptized. And the guy talked me out of it the first time. And I didn't do it. I listened to him and I didn't do it. And so in 2014 came around, and I had another opportunity to sign up to do baptism class. The way they do it at my church, you sign up to do baptism class, you learn about the doctrine and what exactly baptism is, and from that process, then you get baptized. And so that year, 2014, I decided, I'm going to do this. I'm tired of not sleeping. I'm tired of fighting. I feel like the Lord is calling me. At this point, I knew it was God that was calling me. And so I'm like, okay, I can't fight God, right? Like, I'm going to lose. So I'm like, I have to surrender. And so against the advice of the guy, I went and I did the baptism class. And even during the class, I, was fighting to stay in it. And I kept going and I kept going. And then finally, November 30th, 2014, I got baptized. And again, literally didn't realize I was drowning again. I had an idea I was, but when I came up from that water, I took my first breath again. It was like I took a breath, and then I stopped breathing. I held my breath for 4 years. And then November 30th, 2014, I took a breath again. And I've been breathing ever since, thank God. And so after I got baptized, I had the strength to do what I couldn't do, which was in that situation with that guy. Literally had a conversation with him and just was like, okay, this is it. Like, I can't do this anymore. I even tried to, help him out or, rekindle a little bit. And God was like, nah, boo, I got you now. We ain't doing this again. And so that ended 2014 for the most. All throughout those relationships, I'd say the demon that I was battling with the most had to have been fornication. To me, in my immature thinking, sex was love. And so I did... that was it for me. Like, if I was getting that, if I was doing that, then I felt loved. I reached a point in my relationship with God where it was, you can't do this anymore. I'm calling you to something bigger. You cannot do this anymore. And I can distinctly remember the exact day, the exact time, the exact moment that he separated me and said, this is it. I was with the guy that I was with for 4 years. You know, we were in a situation that we weren't supposed to be in, and I was with him at the time. And I remember leaving him and feeling so broken, feeling so lost, so remorseful, so condemned. I can imagine that if God would allow a person to feel even some of the weight of their condemnation, I would imagine that that's what it felt like. I felt the heaviest that I've ever felt. And I felt so sorry. I remember just sitting in my car saying, God, I'm so sorry. I'm bawling my eyes out. I can barely breathe, barely talk. That's how hurt. That's how sorry. That's how, I mean, I just, you know, that I deliberately disobeyed God. And I remember that day I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this again. And I, by the grace of God, have been celibate ever since that specific day. I don't even think the guy knows what happened because I didn't tell him. I mean, I just literally stopped being with him after that. So might have been weird for him, but for me, I already knew that there was no way that I could do that again. There was no way that I could lay with him again. There was no way I could lay with anyone that is not my husband again. And so that's one of the sins that I was battling.